All right, everyone, welcome back. This is the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette High School Football Podcast. I'm Jeremy Muck, the High School Football Coordinator here at the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette in Little Rock, joined by Rex Nelson, the Senior Editor at the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Rex, first week of non-conference play, just a lot of great games around the Natural State on Friday night.
Oh, there were some great games on Friday night. You know, our top teams seem to be getting stronger, to me, if anything. Jeremy, we had Bryant, our number one team overall, number one in 7A with that 42-7 win over Fort Smith Northside, and then our number one team in 6A, Rolling Greenwood, 42-0 over Little Rock Hall. Number one in 5A, Pulaski Academy beats Little Rock Fair, 43-0. But then you get down to 4A, and we said it was going to be one of the games of the year. It was the game you covered, Nashville going to Arkadelphia, the two-time defending 4A state champion, and winning on a late field goal. And it sounds like, Jeremy, you were there. That game was everything it was billed to be.
Absolutely. The 7-4A never fails to bring entertainment. And Nashville, Arkadelphia, those are two proud programs, two proud towns, and it was a great atmosphere down in Clark County on Friday night. Nashville, with Keyshawn Stewart, that running game, they were able to control that game for the most part, save for a 5-6 minute stretch there in the third quarter. But Arkadelphia had a 21-19 lead with about 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and Johnny Piaquinto hit that 30-yard field goal, but didn't come without controversy.
I was going to say there was controversy.
Just a little bit down there, and we were on the sidelines. We're on the Arkadelphia sideline, and when Piaquinto hit that field goal, there might have been an inadvertent whistle from an official during that kick, and J.R. Eldridge, the longtime Arkadelphia head coach, was screaming at the officials, and not just Eldridge, but the Arkadelphia players stopped play. They were like, we heard a whistle. And JR went out to midfield. He was yelling at the officials. Just everything was just going crazy. The fans were booing. It was nuts. And JR picked up a unsportsmanlike conduct, 15 yards, moved the kickoff past midfield. Arkadelphia's offense couldn't get anything going. Four incomplete passes by Cannon Turner. Nashville escapes with the victory on Friday night to go 1-0 in 7-4A.
And we could see those two again in the playoffs. So
yeah,
yeah, a lot of football still ahead after 1 week of the conference season. But that one certainly, like I said, you picked the right one to go to. It sounded like quite an ending.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm just glad we have enough people to go cover the biggest games in the state where I could go down there and all that. Just another big game on Friday night was North Little Rock and Little Rock Central. Just always a fun atmosphere with the Charging Wildcats and the Tigers. And at Quigley Cox Stadium on Friday night, that place was rocking over in downtown Little Rock. This North Little Rock comes away with the 35-21 victory. Just Brandon Thomas, the All-Arkansas Prep second team running back from a year ago, over 1,800 yards and 14 touchdowns, came back after missing the first 3 games because of a hand injury. But unfortunately, Brandon, who had over 100 yards on Friday night, got hurt again. He hurt his ankle on Friday, and don't know the timetable on that as of press time right here. But just if North Little Rock is without Thomas, that could be a blow to the Charging Wildcats going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. There were 2 big games in what I call the big stadiums in the city of Little Rock. You had that one at Quigley Cox, which must have been a really good game, 35-21 North Little Rock, as you said, over Central. But over at War Memorial Stadium, we'd been talking about Cabot because of that 3-0 start that Scott Reed got off to there. But Little Rock Catholic upsets Cabot 28-26. Catholic had kind of flown below the radar during non-conference play, but Catholic wins a second straight year, Jeremy, over Cabot. I tell you, 7A Central is deep, I have a feeling, this year.
Yes, the Rockets so far, they're 3-1, 1-0 to 7A Central, and a big part of that right now is Jordan Eddington, the quarterback and also defensive lineman for the Rockets. You don't see that very often at the 7A level. You see that more like at the 2A or 3A level when you go both ways, but a quarterback and defensive lineman. But Jordan Eddington had 278 yards of offense, had I think he had 4 touchdowns for the Rockets on Friday night, and also was instrumental in stopping Cabot's 2-point conversion try on that final play for Cabot. So big win for the Rockets on Friday night.
Yeah, over the course now, since you've moved them up of this young season still, you've had both Little Rock Central and Little Rock Catholic in your top 10. So I want to say welcome back, old friends, because those are two programs in the state's capital city that have a lot of tradition through the decades.
You know, looking at it right now, Rex. I mean, I've been the main high school football writer here at the Democrat Gazette since 2014. This is the strongest football has been inside the capital city.
Absolutely, there is no doubt whatsoever. I mean, Parkview continues to play very, very well.
Yes.
For instance, McClellan, which has traditionally been well, but you add Parkview, you add McClellan. Like you said, there is a lot of good football inside the city now at the public schools in addition to the private school programs.
And I think the part of that is the Little Rock School District's trying to make more of a commitment to athletics, and it's definitely football in the district. And you know, they're doing that 6th grade program, and you're going to start to see it over the next maybe 5 to 10 years with that 6th grade program that they've had with Fitzhill, and you know, Scooter Register's been a big part of that too. So you get those kids committed and whatnot. We'll see what happens with the LRSD, but looking at right now, really impressed with what Parkview is doing right now. They have 3-1 right now.
Oh, absolutely. Coach Brad Bowling doing a wonderful job over there. Now, speaking of the public schools being strong along with the private schools, which a lot of them have traditionally been strong, you know, we've got Pulaski Academy and Little Rock Christian this week in 5A. Certainly, that is the game of the year to this point in 5A. It may be the game of the year, period, in the regular season in Class 5A.
Yes, and I will be there Friday night at Warriorville. Oh yeah, that's going to be a heck of a ball game out on Highway 10. It's we'll talk about it a little bit with the 3 games out of Highway 10. It's really interesting. Maybe interesting to me, might be interesting to you out there, but we'll get to that later. But you know, PA Little Rock Christian, that's a rematch of the Class 5A state title game last year.
Yep.
Won by the Warriors, and the Warriors had not beat PA since 2009 when Michael Dyer was there. And they finally pulled it off last year in the state title game. That rivalry is one of the best rivalries in the state, and the Bruins have had their number. But Little Rock Christians can say, we beat Pulaski Academy in the state championship game.
Yeah.
And that's something a PA can't say for Little Rock Christian. So
and this game is at Christian, you said?
it's at Little Rock
Okay.
Christian.
Good
Absolutely.
deal.
First time in 3 years that Little Rock Christian's hosting this game.
Well, it'll be a lot of, you'll talk about the game at Joe T a little later. There is going to be a lot of traffic out Highway 10.
Absolutely. Just, we're going to go into Class 7A. I want to talk about 7A West. Bentonville, Springdale Harbor, that was another great game on Friday night. Bentonville comes away with a 35-21 victory. Bentonville, the Tigers do it with defense, had 5 turnovers, had 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries. You know, we talk about the 7A Central and how strong that is. The 7A West is more parity right now, but Bentonville is right now, early on, they've established themselves as the top team in the 7A West.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Again, Bryant looks awfully strong, but Bentonville's the kind of team I can see getting on a run in the playoffs and maybe pulling an upset if they were to meet in a state final game. This is a very good Bentonville team, and it appears to be getting stronger with each passing week.
You can go really far in November with defense and a strong running game, and the Tigers have that right now. Just shifting gears, going down the line, Class 6A. Classic game out in West Memphis. West Memphis holds on to beat Marion 41-40 in overtime. Crittenden County, the great rivalry between the Blue Devils and the Patriots. Blue Devils come away with victory once again.
Yeah, Battle of Crittenden County. You can't get any better than that, can you? To go to overtime and get a 1-point game that came down to a 2-point conversion attempt at the end of the football game. So certainly a good game there. Other teams that are looking good in 6A, Searcy continues to play very well. They won big 49-14 over Jacksonville. Lake Hamilton continues to play very well, 40-21 over El Dorado. And Jonesboro playing well now, 32-7 over Mountain Home. So those are all teams that might challenge Greenwood when the time comes.
I want to speak on Lake Hamilton for a minute. I mean, Lake Hamilton, Tommy Giller there at Lake Hamilton, former Fountain Lake coach, Lake Hamilton alum. He's got the Wolves rolling right now. The Wolves are 4-0. They went down to El Dorado. With El Dorado right now, they're kind of rebuilding with Stephen Jones. But to go down to El Dorado and win like they did, that's pretty impressive for Lake Hamilton Friday night.
Oh, absolutely. And again, that's a team that has had success in the past. There is tradition at the school. There's always plenty of talent at the school. And with the coaching staff they now have in place, I think Lake Hamilton will be around in that top part of 6A from now on, at least for the near future.
And definitely want to mention Benton as well. Benton got their first victory of the season, beat Russellville 36-31. The Panthers played one of the toughest non-conference schedules in the state early on, playing Bryant, playing Arkadelphia, and playing Cabot.
Yep.
And that non-conference schedule, while they went 0-3, you had a feeling that might have helped them, and I think it did Friday night.
It prepared them for conference play. There's no doubt about it. They played three of the best teams in the state, and even though they came up short in all of those games, it does prepare you mentally and physically, and it gives you a heads up, kind of a leg up, I guess I want to say, as you come into conference play at this point.
You know, you'll look at the Democrat Gazette standings, and you'll see the 1-3 for Benton on the right side of the standings in the 6A West. But the most important thing right now for the Panthers, 1-0 in the 6A West.
That's right. That's where it counts now. We're into conference play, so forget those non-conference games at this point.
That's right. The beauty of non-conference play right now, majority of these conferences, 8 teams in the conference, half of them are 1-0, the other half 0-1. That's the time we're in right now with conference play. So, you know, looking at 5A, you know, we talked about Pulaski Academy, we've talked about Parkview, but how about Maumelle? 4-0.
Oh, I know.
Going down to Whitehall, winning that Whitehall 29-21. Kirk Horton's got those Hornets rolling right now.
Yeah, he really does. Maumelle's playing very well. Another big game that took place, and it lived up to its billing last Friday night, was Harrison 39-34 over Morrilton. Those are two very good football teams. Harrison had cruised in some of their non-conference games. They get a real challenge against Morrilton, but they survive by 5 points.
Yes, that was a big victory for the Goblins, and our guy up in Northwest Arkansas, Henry Apple, covered that game, and he's seen a lot of good football games over the years, and Henry, you know, haven't had a chance to really talk to him and say, hey, where's his rank on your list, but knowing Henry, that's probably got to be top 10, top 20 games he's covered. I mean, that was a heck of a football game last Friday night. You had a lot of great athletes on the field with Gabe Husky and Jacoby Criswell at Morrilton. I mean, that kid, Criswell, did everything he possibly could to will his team to victory.
Yeah.
But, you know, the Goblins come away with it, and, you know, we still got Harrison number 2 in Class 5A, but make no mistake, I mean, they're 4-0 right now, 1-0 in the 5A West. We're gonna keep hearing from the Goblins, barring injuries.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, we will. So, you know, keep an eye on them. Wynn gets a big 42-21 win over Blyville, so they're playing better right now. So there are a number of teams in the mix right now. But again, you go back to Pulaski Academy Christian, you have to. The rematch of last year's state championship game this Friday. The winner of that game is going to be the clear favorite at the midpoint of the season to win another state championship.
And a big thing about that game, too, if you win that game, you put yourself, you hate to say driver's seat after the second week of conference, but it kind of is in a way.
Oh, absolutely.
Because those two teams have been the class of the 5A Central these past couple of years. The number 1 seed in that conference will get home field for the most part. And then your number 2 seed in the Central may very well have to go to the 5A West number 1 seed in November, possibly in the quarterfinals, semifinals, and possibly have to make that long trip up to Harrison.
Yeah.
So that's such a big game on Friday night, where you win you win that game on Friday, you put yourself in a great position to possibly win the Central. So huge out there in Warriorville Friday night. And we alluded to it earlier, but want to mention that Highway 10 corridor Friday night. We got Pulaski Academy, a Little Rock Christian out there on Highway 10. You go a little further west, you got Arkadelphia and Joe T. Robinson out at Charlie George Stadium on Friday night. Mm-hmm. Then, just you know, if you go east of Little Rock Christian at Baptist Prep, you get Jessieville and Baptist Prep. Mm-hmm. Jessieville, they're 4-0 right now, and they got a great sophomore quarterback in Carson Hare. So that's a game not to sleep on either. Baptist Prep is 0-4, but at the same time, it's not too often you get 3 games within a 1.5 mile, 2-mile corridor like that. I'm pretty excited about that, Rex.
Yeah, well, take in all of Central Arkansas and look at the action you've got. You've got that quarter, but then throw in, if you expand Central Arkansas, Catholic at Bryant and Conway at North Little Rock. And there is some great football. There's some good games all over the state, but the biggest of the big games happened to all fall in Central Arkansas, it seems to me, on this weekend, which is the 6th Friday night of the season.
I'm just glad we have a group of people who can go cover all these games.
Exactly.
Because trust me, I think we don't think we have the budget to clone me, to be at every different place. I mean, there's so many different games.
And I know you
Friday
would like
night.
to be at every one of those games.
Oh, I'd love to be at every single games, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
But that's a good thing about it. We'll have these games all covered this Friday night. You can read about it in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. on Saturday morning for sure, and also follow us on Twitter. Use the hashtag ARPreps. Had to get that into social media and whatnot. Just we mentioned Arkadelphia, Joe T. Robinson. Arkadelphia coming off that heartbreaking loss to Nashville. They're not going to be in the best of moods this week, and J.R. Eldridge and that coaching staff are going to be working hard this week to try to get past that game. Even if they would have won last week, it's not like a game you can really celebrate, even if you win, because you get Robinson. Robinson's
right back with another
big right back with the 7-4A. And this week, I got to be honest, this is like one of the toughest Class 4A rankings I've had to do.
Yeah.
And Nashville, they beat Arkadelphia. Great win for the Scrappers. But we had Joe T. Robinson, number 2. And Joe T went to Fountain Lake, won pretty big. They're 4-0. They haven't done anything to not be number 1 right now. And that's a team, a lot of good talent. Quarterback Buddy Gass has been playing well for them. That is going to be another great game out in the 7-4A Friday night.
While we're talking about 4A, it seems to me, Jeremy, that every week there's at least one game that is such an upset, you say, wow, I never saw that coming. And for me last week, it was in 4A, Crossit, a program that has really struggled in recent years. 38-35 over Warren? Where did that come from?
That game shocked me. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, how many people thought that in week 1 of conference play in the 8-4A that the Warren Lumberjacks would lose to the Crossit Eagles? I mean, that's unheard of. I mean, you had not seen that in a while. And you see that score, like you do your radio show on Friday night. And
I was shocked as soon as it came across.
I saw that score on Twitter, and I'm like, wait a minute, is that right? I mean, you may need an edit button on Twitter finally to see, are you sure about that score?
There are certain scores that we do double check before we put it on the radio, and we double checked that one before we did.
But all kidding aside, hats off to the Crossit Eagles.
Absolutely.
What a great win. You play Warren, that's a program that's been in the state championship game, a 8-4A contender every year under Bo Hembry, and you beat the Warren Lumberjacks. It's been a while since Warren's been 0-1 in the 8-4A. So.
Yeah. And while we're talking about 4A, let's go back up northwest and let's not lose sight of Shiloh Christian. That's a team, again, that seems to be one getting stronger every week. 56-0 over Berryville last week.
Yes, took care of business. Took care of business against the Berryville Bobcats. And, Shiloh Christian, by the way, give a shout out to Shiloh. You guys always include me in your tweets.
That's great.
Every week, every Friday night, I always get score updates from Shiloh. They always tag me in their tweets. And the nice graphics and whatnot. I really do appreciate that on a Friday night. But just looking at them on the field, I mean, the Saints have been rolling these first 4 weeks, and that's a team. Right now, yes, the 7-4A is the best conference in 4A right now, but Shiloh Christian could have something to say about Class 4A in the coming weeks for sure.
Absolutely, they will. 4A is very deep. It's going to be a fun rest of the season there.
It's my favorite classification to cover. Yeah. It's a lot of great schools, a lot of great communities to go cover in Class 4A. Just looking at Class 3A, how about Hardin Academy Clinton in the 2-3A?
Oh, yeah.
Hardin Academy goes to Clinton and wins 57-44, ends the Yellow Jackets' 26-game regular season winning streak. That's an impressive win for Neil Evans Wildcats Friday night.
Oh, very, very impressive. And again, you have got strength, I think, in different areas of the state. You look down in southeast Arkansas, there's McGee. Down in southwest Arkansas, there's Prescott. Go to northeast Arkansas, and there's Osceola. Go to south central Arkansas, and you got Rison and Camden Harmony Grove. So in 3A, again, that is the classification that I've talked about before on this podcast, Jeremy, that I think is just totally wide open. All those teams that I named, any of those could win a state championship.
Big game in 3A on Friday night. We mentioned the games that are here in Central Arkansas. Rison's not too far down the road, just a little south of Pine Bluff. Mm-hmm. You want to go check out a game on Friday night, McGee at Rison in the 6-3A. That's a heck of a ball game between the Owls and the Wildcats.
Two great teams. McGee won 54-26 over Lake Village Lakeside last week. Rison shuts out Drew Central 38-0. So those are two strong programs. That will be a fun football game.
And I don't want to leave without mentioning the Glen Rose Beavers. Glen Rose. Glenn
story.
Rose last week, the week before, they were involved in an altercation, an incident with Falk, and they had 26 players suspended. Falk, on one hand, had to forfeit their game at Prescott Friday night, and that was a conference opener for both teams in the 5-3A. Glenn Rose, on the other hand, they had 12 players available, and Mark Keener said to me last week, we're gonna play with these 12 guys and see what we got. And they beat Two Rivers 48-6. As far as I know, no injuries at all, which was great for them. Glenn Rose winning with 12 players on Friday night, probably one of the more impressive things I've seen in high school football these last couple of years.
Yeah, it's a great story to go out with 12 players and win big like they did. It'd be interesting to see now what they do when they get everybody back, if they can do that with 12.
Yeah, Glenn Rose, always a traditional program. They'll be in the mix in Class 3A. They started off 1 and 2, kind of struggled a little bit, but now with the 12 players, they're going to get majority of their players back this Friday. And they go to Mayflower on Friday night, so that'll be a good one. That's also in Central Arkansas, so a lot of games in Central Arkansas, as Rex said earlier. So Class 2A, once again the usual contenders up top once again. Junction City beats Strong 62-6. Foreman beats Spring Hill 40-0. Hazen beats Carlisle 32-14. So, and Fordyce won 48-14 against Bearden. Just Class 2A, the cream of the crop, rose once again.
Yeah, these are all traditional programs that we're familiar with being good year in and year out, and they're good once again. Kind of like 3A. That's the classification, I think, pretty wide open right now.
Tell you what, Rex, it finally felt a little bit like football weather Friday night. It was still warm, but it wasn't
better this Friday night.
It wasn't as hot. But this Friday night, we're going in October now. The weather's going to be a little cooler this Friday. Finally, it's finally going to start to feel like fall. Finally, it's for us big guys, man. Come on. And plus,
it's been like August the entire month of September. Thank goodness October's arrived.
You linemen out there, I feel you.
Yeah.
So, Rex, just looking at Friday night. Just what are your main things you want to see on Friday night out of the state?
Well, up at the 7A level, again, Catholic, Bryant, Conway, North Little Rock. Both of those games really intrigue me. I want to see if Catholic can hang with Bryant at all and see how good they really are. And I think Conway's got a very good team. And whether they can hang around with North Little Rock for 4 quarters, I think that's real interesting. PA Little Rock Christian, like I said, the winner of that one is the clear favorite in 5A. And then, of course, you have Arkadelphia at Joe T. Robinson, and that's a pick'em game in my mind.
Absolutely. Just a lot of games, a lot of big games once again Friday night. And as we've mentioned, we will be covering high school football Friday night for the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. It'll be in Saturday's edition. And also you can read us online at arkansasonline.com and also on Twitter. If you want to follow us on Friday nights, my Twitter account is Jeremy Muck, ADG. And if you have a score out there, tweet us with your score at the hashtag ARPreps. So I'll post the Twitter follows on Friday night, who's going where and whatnot. We'll have updates throughout the night on Friday night. So, we're definitely looking forward to another fun Friday night. So with that, we're going to get ready for Friday night, get ready for our coverage this week here as we go into the month of October. For Rex Nelson, I'm Jeremy Muck. Thanks for watching and listening to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette High School Football Podcast. Take care and we'll see you next time.